Good evening. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. Please note that the opinions voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network nor our sponsors. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome to the Paranormal Experience Radio Show with your host, Kat Hobson. We're here to learn all we can about every type of experience within the paranormal. There will be interviews with seasoned investigators of the spiritual realm, including ufologists, cryptozoologists, psychics, mediums, authors, and creators of technology, and others with credible knowledge to share. Together, we will find out what brought these investigators of the unknown into the field and learn what keeps them working so hard in it. I'm interested in learning how these individuals go about their work, and I believe you are too. This program is all about bringing those who are in the field together with our listeners who are interested in what they find. For us, the paranormal is all about working with and supporting each other. We're all here seeking answers to the questions that bother us so. Now, let's get those answers. And enjoy the show.
Good evening. Welcome to Paranormal Experience Radio. I am your host, Kat Hobson. Thank you so much for joining us here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama, because this is going to be a fun, informative, and rocking show. Before we get started, I would be remiss if I were not to mention the latest horrid attack on innocent people that took place in Virginia. And I just want to let people know that I don't really know what to say. Prayers, obviously, hope for a better tomorrow. But you know what? We have got to start being the change we want to see in this world, because we can change it. We have power. We can manifest stuff because that's who we are and that's what we do. You can manifest through prayer, through meditation, through intent, through whatever your belief system allows you to do. But we can't keep having this, and it's not the guns. It's the people. We have to change hearts. We have to become community. We have to become a society that cares about each other and doesn't have to be the person who is right all the time. Changing the world doesn't mean browbeating somebody into submission. Changing the world means loving them until they ask you why. We can do this. We're powerful, singly and as a society. You don't have to throw bricks and rocks. You don't have to make people bleed. What you have to do is love them until they ask you why, because they will. And that's really all I have to say about that. My guest tonight is someone who is very good at care and concern, compassion, and helping. His name is Gregg TJ Justice, TJ. He is one of the nicest people I've met in a really long time, and that's saying something. I know a lot of wonderful people. I went to an event that he held in Tennessee at the Short Mountain Distillery. I'd never been there. I'm here to tell you it was amazing. There was excellent food. There was excellent communication and camaraderie and community. There were wonderful guests. My bestie, Rick McCullum, came all the way from Hollywood to be there. Jack Kenna came all the way down from the frigid north to be there. Michelle Duell Wagner, who is a girlfriend and a fellow experiencer and other things too. She's a psychic. She's a writer. She's just really nifty. She's been on TV. She's going to be again. We're all there. And you know what? Nobody cared what anyone else had done because they were all there as friends, and it was wonderful. The community at the event was fantastic. And you get that. But not generally with some group that hasn't been doing it for, a decade. This is fantastic. TJ started Paranormal Adventures Events in 2017, but I want y'all, first of all, to let him tell you hi. Hi, TJ.
Hi, Kat. How are you?
I am terrific. I'm just going on about the weather here, and people need to hear you talk about what you do. You do a great job.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here.
So am I. Awesome to be on the show.
Thank you. I had the best time. I had never really gotten a chance to speak to you. I knew you were out there. I knew you were doing events and good ones. Mm-hmm. I had been actually almost every time that you were trying to do an event, I was either traveling or injured. And I do apologize because you are in my backyard.
That's okay.
I mean, you are. And I am so much better. I was able to do the Short Mountain Distillery event, which was wonderful. How did you connect with them?
I had actually, I guess, heard through some other friends that the location was haunted. Mm-hmm. And I went out there and checked it out, and they were just very welcoming and accommodating. And he was like, yeah, come out, do like a preliminary investigation, see what you get. If you get enough that you think that it warrants having an event out here, we'd love to have the event, and we'll incorporate food and tastings and all that along with it. So that's kind of how that came about. So,
well, it was fantastic because they were very generous.
Yes.
I mean, I know that it's part of a deal and an agreement and stuff, but they were still more generous than they had to be. Mm-hmm. They actually came out and did a lecture to educate people about the history of the property, as well as serving a fantastic meal. Mm-hmm. I was watching because I don't generally drink bourbon, but theirs was good. It was delicious. And there were different flavors. So, mm-hmm. which is new for me with bourbons. And they were just outstanding people in their own right too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do an awesome job out there. They did everything that they could to help me out. And if I needed them for anything, all I had to do was say so, and they were right on it. So,
yes. Well, I tell you, I will be going back there because I couldn't go on the trails yet. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, there was so much happening out there that...
Yeah, there was. We got quite a bit of activity. I was set up about halfway down the trail, and like a stationary place that the groups just kind of rotated mm-hmm. through where I was at. And I got quite a bit of activity where I was at, and I think Jack Kenna was on down at the end of the trail from me, and I think he got quite a bit of activity as well. So
he told me he did. He was pretty impressed with the location himself. We were getting activity in the distillery, in the aging. I guess that's the aging room. That garnish area.
Yeah, it's where they it's their lab area, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also where they, I guess, first produce it, and then they'll let it sit and age for, I think, a few weeks to a few months, and then they move it across the road at the bigger aging and storage area.
Well, I learned a lot about distilling, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, and the listeners, don't tell anybody, guys. But when I was young and foolish, I became ill from Jack Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to Lynchburg on a tour, that was a critical error. There was no very strong aroma. There was nothing that was overwhelming at
Mm-hmm.
the Short Mountain Distillery. It was a great location all the way around. Everything was so professional and clean, and just you could tell these people were there to make a name for themselves. They're going to.
Mm-hmm.
They already have to a degree. Well,
Yeah, you could barely even smell any. I mean, you could barely even smell that anything was actually distilling, because I spent several hours in there, and nothing really did bother me, the smell or anything like that. So
yeah. And, it was just overall fantastic. Now, I want to get a little bit more about you so that people who may not be familiar with you yet, and I don't think there's many anymore, but the people who know how you got involved in this, because when I was reading about you months ago, before that event, I was just like, wow, because I had known somewhat your history. I did not realize that your very first investigation was Waverly.
yeah,
I mean, holy wow, go big or go home, right?
yeah, I basically jumped in like head and feet first. I didn't actually know that I was doing it at the time. It was kind of more or less like, well, when I first started doing it, I was like, well, there might be something to it, but there's probably not. And then I went to Waverly, and it was just undeniable that there was other stuff out there that was just unexplained. I've seen shadow people. I've seen mists that were not even white, that was like purple.
Really? I haven't seen a
Yeah.
purple mist. That's cool.
Yeah, I've actually got a picture of it. It's in 3 different pictures in 3 different, like it's in the middle of the hallway, and each of the 3 pictures, it's in a different location in like the scope of the hallway. Like one time it's at the top near the ceiling, one time it's in the middle, and then the next time it's on the ground, and then the 4th picture it's gone.
Unbelievable. That is so cool. Well, I'm going to tell you that Billy Sims is in Spreaker. He said, hey, but when one of my friends who hosts the show behind mine on a different network says, yep, just like mine was Feliska. And I'm like, what were y'all thinking? I mean, I started with Fort Morgan in Gulf Shores, Alabama, which was active enough, but it wasn't a notorious haunting, right? It was just residual for the most part. But I am just so surprised. And then you started in the Lexington and Louisville area. What are some of the other locations that you hunted up there in Kentucky before you relocated?
There was Perryville Battlefield. Done that a couple times. There was a battlefield. My hometown is actually Pikeville, Kentucky, which is far east Kentucky. And there's actually a battlefield in the next town over in Prestonsburg called Middle Creek Battlefield. And it was a place that you could actually go, and I've even went in the daytime and heard cannon fire.
Right.
You would hear horses, like the sound of horses galloping by you. You you would see they have like an orchard area, like we're pretty much right in the middle of the battlefield. Like one side is like open field, then you have the orchard, and then the other side is the open field. Well, you go in the orchard and you see all kinds of shadow people. I even seen, and it's still one of the craziest things that I've seen in doing this, an actual shadow crawling across the ground, and it looked like he was like crawling on his elbows and stuff, like he was trying to like duck the fire and like go into like a I guess like a ditch or something so he could get away from the fighting.
Oh my word.
Yeah, and it was, I think there was 2 or 3 people. We all seen it at the same time. They were having a reenactment, ghost walk type of thing at that battlefield at the time when we seen it.
That is just freaky. I went to Gettysburg last year to participate with the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, which is fantastic, and it is a fundraiser for Pennsylvania Wounded Warriors. Just so people know, if you're in the Gettysburg area, you can go and meet and greet. I'm planning to be there. I know that everyone is, and I'm going to tell you that the vendors and everyone speaking and such, they donate to be there. It's everybody there is to raise money for Wounded Warriors of Pennsylvania. So it's fantastic. It is put on by people who absolutely care. Their business is the Gettysburg Ghost Exchange. Pam and Steve Berry. It's fantastic. If you get a chance to go there, you've got to, because I actually got to go and investigate Gettysburg out at Sachs Bridge that night, one of the nights, and I saw people like popping up. I thought I thought it was a stand of trees. Battlefields are freaky.
They can be.
Have you been to Stones River yet?
I have. I've been a couple of times. The place that I really can't stay very long on Stones River is they have a mass grave there.
Yes.
And I forget the exact name that they call it, but that's one place that I can stay usually about 15 minutes, and I start getting sick and start getting dizzy and all kinds of stuff.
I found it to be that kind of effect also. It was so weird because it was my first time at a battlefield. So I didn't really know what to expect. And if you grew up close to one, then you knew kind of what was coming. But the freakiest thing were those little silhouettes of men with guns that they have stuck around places. And David, my husband, who is not a believer, and I pulled in, and he said, "What is that?" And I turned around and I was like, well, it's either a shadow figure or it's art. I'm not sure which. But you're right. There were places. My place that bothered me the most was that the slaughter pen.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about too.
Is that the place?
Yeah.
It just absolutely was astounding. And even my husband, who doesn't do any of this with me, looked at me, and because I was setting recorders around just to do some EVPs, and he looked at me and said, "Would you like for me to hold one of those so that you can triangulate this position?" And I just looked at him like, yeah, thank you. So, I mean, even he felt that, and he is like as sensitive as a post. So I am glad that you kind of validated that too, because I knew there was a mass grave. I didn't know that's where it was. I thought it was over by the mound area. So,
yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
Okay. No, you're fine. I was just going to say that we are up on our first break, believe it or not. So we will be right back Y'all come back because TJ has so much information to share with us, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Welcome to the Paranormal Experienced radio show with your host, Kat Hobson. We are here to learn all we can about every type of experience within the paranormal. There will be interviews with seasoned investigators of the spiritual realm, including ufologists, cryptozoologists, psychics, mediums, authors, and creators of technology, and others with
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome! What?
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy. I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experienced Radio here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. Thank y'all so much for being with us. I am going to interject a little something personal here. My daughter is in an emergency room right now with what appears to be a broken arm. So her husband's with her. She has a new baby, and they have a new baby. So if you could just offer up some positive healing energy, I would appreciate that. And prayer never hurts. So thank you so much. And welcome back, TJ. I am so excited about this conversation, and thank you for your patience as I was a little distracted there for a minute, and you're just amazing.
It's no problem. Be on.
You know, we were talking about the battlefield up there by Pikeville. You said that you heard horses come, around you. Did they sound like they were actually in close proximity to you?
Yeah. We were, we had actually went through one time we were investigating, we had actually went all the way through the orchard to the other side, and we kind of seen a mist coming towards us, and then we heard sounded like galloping horses.
That's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just one of those things that is just like other locations, but you don't really anticipate horses.
No.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and if it was actual horses, I mean, the location that we were standing in, we could have seen them. We were in the middle of an open field, and it was like, okay, there's no horses around. So.
Well, although in that area there are some, so that is one of the prettiest areas I think I've ever been in. And I am a horse freak, so that makes it even better. What do you think? I know that's residual, and I know that the reenactment probably had something to do with it as far as triggering.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think actually happens? I mean, because people don't consider horses to be, spiritual creatures. People that haven't been around them don't.
Mm-hmm.
I have dogs who show up here. I've lost 3 dogs in 3 years. And, it's what happens when you get them all at roughly the same time, at the same age. But, I hear them. I've seen one of them as a mere, you could still see the hair. She had wispy, beautiful hair, and you could see it. It wasn't white. It was gray. But what do you attribute that to? What's your take on animal hauntings?
I mean, just like, hauntings with humans, animals are living creatures too. And if they were at a place for an extended period of time, or there's someone that, that that they loved and were attached to, I definitely think, they can come back and visit. And I mean, I have a pet now, a Chihuahua, and he's 14 years old, and he's aptly named Shadow. And I know if something ever happens to him, that he will definitely be around, because, I mean, he's always, right on my heels, following me around. And it's just the way our relationship is, and I don't expect that to change after he passes. So.
Well, I'll tell you that I lost my dad, and then almost immediately lost my 17, 18-year-old dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that my dad got him because he loved him. I think that when it was time for Max to go, he and my dad are, tromping through woods and doing things, and, and then when Willow just simply couldn't get up one day, couldn't stand. And the day before that happened, I was getting their breakfast, and all of the dogs were in the dining room to my left, and I heard dog tags to my right in the foyer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a minute. Whoa. Okay, that's cool. Not freaky. We're going to go with cool, because it could only have been him. And I think that Max came to be with Willow. And I lost my 3rd dog last week, who was just an amazing beast. And I think that he's out gallivanting and roughing at people and doing cool things. So you have to think that, right?
Yep.
I mean, it was very unexpected and shocking. So, but I think that they're here too. I think that love transcends all. And I actually went to a dog park. So it was where I used to take all of them. And it was so neat because they have benches that you can make, and you can tell that people are just so excited to be there with their dogs, and the dogs are just like fantastic. And there was a quote on one of those, and I think it applies to humans and animals and everyone else. And I think that's why you get so many hauntings in places where the spouse passed or the child passed or whatever. And it says, they that love beyond the world cannot be separated. And I think that's why we get things like that. There's emotion tied, and there's love, And I think that you see that, and most people might not agree with him, but I think you see that like at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, up in the nursery area. Yeah, my very first experience with a K2 conversation, second experience of that nature was up there. I know you've investigated there a good bit.
Yes, I have. And it's kind of getting now to what hasn't happened to me there instead of what has. I've been investigating there, I guess, since 2012. And the first activity or the first interaction that I had that kind of like said, oh, okay, there actually might be something here is I was actually around the nursery, and I was sitting under the nursery windows and sitting there doing an EVP session, and there was a door across from me. It was a recovery room at one time. I think it was surgery recovery or labor and delivery recovery, I think. Sorry. And I look up, and there's this white face coming towards me, and then it just disappears right in, like, maybe 5 inches from my face.
Oh my gosh, really?
And it looked like an old woman, and just like and looked like she was screaming, but I couldn't hear anything. And it just rushed me and just disappeared. And that was back actually when they had the DVR set up in the hospital that recorded you, and you can actually see me like I'm trying to get out of there, I just can't.
Feet don't fail me now. You got failed, didn't you?
I was trying to get up, but it just wasn't working.
Did you get a set of those discs?
Yes, I did. Yes.
I got mine too, my first time. And I just found them the other day. I put them up in a safe place.
Yeah, I think there's 8 in total, and I've only actually watched in entirety 3 of them because they're just so long.
They are so long.
And one of them has so much activity and so much evidence on it that you would never, it would take you a year to even edit it and do all that with it, because there was one night on the 3rd floor that the whole night it sounded like somebody was throwing furniture around and dragging stuff down the hallway. And so, yeah, it was crazy the first time that we went.
Don't you love that, though? Me too. What was some of the other stuff that caught your eye on those?
Well, I don't believe in orbs a whole lot, but when the orb flies up, looks at the camera, and looks like it's actually blinking like your eyes.
Oh my
It's kind of
gosh.
hard to discount, and it's like it just flies up out of nowhere, and it's like it knows the camera's there, and it's like, okay, I'm looking at you because I know you're looking at me. So
Oh my goodness. I would probably have had to consider that as true evidence myself. I'm not a huge orbs person. I have
no,
one person who's he actually photographs orbs
hmm
in an old churchyard in Staten Island, New York. His name is Dave DeLeese, and he is brilliant with his work. He had a stroke and was unable to go for a long time, quite some time, as he recovered. When he went back and got his camera set up and stuff, it was like all of and they have faces and shapes and things and whatever. All of them were there in that one night, like they were welcoming him back.
yeah,
And his work over the years that I've seen it is what makes me think that there is the slightest possibility that orbs could be real.
yeah,
I'm a photographer myself, so, you rule out moisture and humidity, you rule out lightning bugs and things of that nature. There are things that will still create those. But it's amazing when you see something like you did that makes you go, oh my gosh, this
yeah.
is like the real thing. I didn't believe in this.
hmm
So what else did you see?
Well, on the same tape that which I know you've got a set of them too, that it was put in like 9 frames or 12 frames of all this video. Well, the frame that the elevators on the 3rd floor is in, at one point we had all went to bed. We'd been to bed a good hour and a half, and you can see us go to bed on the other frame. Nobody comes back out or anything like that. And all of a sudden, the doors from the stairway leading up in the middle that goes to the 3rd floor, the door was open, and it stayed open all the time through the whole investigation. Well, all of a sudden, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a white mist that comes up out of the stairway and like goes halfway up the elevators, like half from the ground halfway up, and just like converges and acts like it walks down the hallway.
Really?
Yeah. And besides Waverly, that was the other thing that says, okay, yeah, there's no denying there's definitely something
That is
we
wicked cool.
can't explain and can't see it all the time and all that. So,
well, go ahead.
It was so like I guess the people that had it at the time was watching the video, and it was so like compelling, and it made them so excited they had to come wake us up. They're like, you've got to see this. So
That is so awesome.
yeah.
The people that were there at that time, running the hospital, turned out to be not such wonderful people.
Mm-hmm.
But their DVR system was jamming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did that in large part because they wanted to make sure people were not, crossing spirits. Because when I got there, they literally said, if we see you crossing spirits, you will be banned from this facility from this time forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well,
they banned people for a lot of things besides that.
Well, that's all right. They banned themselves too. I tell you what, those people were just shady. But live and learn. So I did a live show from there shortly before it got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never heard the elevator ding. And it did during that live show. And I mentioned it to Ronnie D, who owns it now. And he was like, I just heard that for the first time ever. I knew it was supposed to happen, but I didn't expect it. That's so cool. Have you had that happen to you yet?
I have, but it hasn't happened in years. I think the last time, I think it was 2013.
Wow.
We was helping out with a haunted house or something there, and I walked by it, and it does it when you're not expecting it, not really thinking about it. You're doing your own thing, and it just all of a sudden ding, and you're like, oh, what? Okay. You know?
Well, that's kind of what, I mean, it didn't even register with me. Right? When it happened, I was mid-conversation, and I'm in a hospital. The elevator dinged. I never thought anything about it until after the fact when I went, there's no power to that. Oh, my word. So it was certainly something.
Yeah, before Ronnie D bought it, I actually spoke with the lady who had it up for auction for the IRS, that worked for the IRS liquidation department or something. And it actually dinged on her, and she wouldn't go back in there anymore without somebody else. She's like,
oh, wow.
She's like, there's no power to that. We just checked it. How is it dinging?
Oh, no. Bless her heart.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I got to spend that whole afternoon in there by myself. I had never been in there by myself. So I will always be thankful for that opportunity, regardless of what happened later or what was going on then. I got so much evidence just walking the halls. I went everywhere. You know, there was a room that I had actually been locked into, and I went down, and it was just like, lock me in now. You know, they didn't. But
yeah,
it's cool when you get a chance to explore a haunted location like that, especially by yourself, especially with your camcorder. And you know, you get to go into all these places. When we come back, I want you to tell people a little bit more about some experiences that you've had in other places too, if you would.
Okay.
All right. And y'all, we will be right back. This is our second break.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. You are listening to Paranormal Experienced Radio with Kat Hobson, me, and my guest, TJ Justice. I have been having so much fun because I feel like this is old home week just with a conversation about all these places. And TJ, you shared something with me during the break about Old South Pittsburgh that I really wish you would share with everyone else. It was amazing.
Yeah, where I'm on the volunteer staff down there, I go down there and help out when I can, help remodel and paint and all that stuff. Well, they're so used to the staff down there that sometimes I walk in the door and especially Shadow Hallway, you see shadows popping their heads out of rooms, and it's just like you kind of know what they're thinking. They pop their head out to see who it is, and they're like, "Oh, it's just you again. I'm going back in my room." So
I can so envision that.
Mm.
So,
but they do kind of get testy with you if you don't say hi when you go in. So you always have to say hi. And if you forget, they let you know that you forgot to say hi.
They take it personally, is what you're saying.
And then usually when I leave, I'm like, okay, you can have your building back now. I'm going home. So it's kind of their open invitation to just have their own little party or whatever they do when we're not there. So
don't you wonder sometimes what they do when we're not there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's their house, right?
Yep.
But you have people that had a personal history there as owners and family members. The first person I spoke with there was a young mother who was in the rocking chair up in the nursery area, in the viewing area. So, and I didn't even know she was there. I just set my K2 down to shuck off my doctor's coat that I had thought I would be cool and put on. It was hotter than Hades. And so Nicole, my partner, looked down and said, your K2 is wide open. And I looked down and yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran out of questions before she ran out of wanting to talk to me. It was insane. And I mean, like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Had, that reminds me, the first time that I went, we actually had a conversation using the K2 with a patient that was in the ER. And he basically told us that he needed to go to the x-rays. So he actually, like, we were reading the K2 doing this, and he actually sat in the wheelchair, let us wheel him over to the x-ray and wheel him back. And it was like a conversation, like 30, 45 minutes that it took.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
And that was one of that was a crazy experience as well. I seen it going on. It wasn't me actually the one doing like the wheeling the wheelchair back and forth, but it was a girl that had went with us the first time that we investigated there.
Wow. Don't you love that?
Hmm?
I mean, what did you think?
I was like, this is, well, I guess at first I was dumbfounded a little bit, and then I was like, this is pretty cool that, and if it was like a yes answer, it would answer all the way to red, but if it was no, it would just like bleep up to the next green light to let us know the difference between, answering our questions with yes and no, so.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What is the most outstanding experience that you've had down in the basement, in the lower level, in the workshop? Have you experienced things there?
I haven't had anything personal, but where I was telling you the video about the orb coming up and kind of blinking, that was in the workshop area. And I seen that, on the video footage, but I never actually experienced it.
That is too cool. I did experience it. But I never got anything that was as negative as everybody says it is.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of like somebody that was doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad I didn't experience all of the things that people described. But when I came upstairs, because I'd gone downstairs the first time by myself, just wandering around the building and checking it out. When I came back upstairs, I got locked in the cafeteria building, a cafeteria room, like the double doors going into where the beverage and checkout area was, closed on me and locked.
Yeah.
And the door into the hallway going back to the stairs that had been open was closed and locked. And I'm like, okay, this is not even a little bit funny. Let me out of here.
Yeah.
And about 10 minutes later, it took about 10 minutes, and I heard the door back in the back open.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over there, and it was just like, thank you so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself, kind of a thing. Because sometimes people are just smarty britches.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I always tell people, I'm like, if they were not that nice in life, they're not going to be nice in death. They're not all of a sudden going to change just because they died. I mean, if anything, they might get worse.
I think so, because they can do it with impunity, right?
Yeah.
No repercussions.
Yeah, and but like you were saying about the workshop area, I honestly think the guy that worked down there, he was just like a no-nonsense type of guy. He wanted to get his work done. And if you hindered him in any way of getting his work done, he was going to let you know about it. And that's pretty much the attitude and the type of person that I think the guy in the work, or the spirit in the workshop area is.
I would agree.
Yeah, and he was like, I ain't got time for all your nonsense and all that. And he's just like, get out of my way. But unfortunately, some of the previous people that run and took care of Old South Pittsburgh put a lot of fake or exaggerated stories out there. And then they would tell the exaggerated and fake stories before people would go investigate. And then people would already have it in their head. And then all of a sudden, that's where the negative come from. That's just my opinion, though. But
I would agree with that, because it was just too pat. The stories were just too pat, and I didn't know the stories, and so I didn't experience anything, because I do agree with you. It gets in your head, it gets in your psyche, and that's what you're looking for, and you can manifest.
And I'm usually the type that I want to know the history of the place, but I don't want to know the hauntings. So I want to know, like, the history that I can go somewhere and find, or that you've done research and you've found. So that way I kind of know who I can interact with and what names I can talk to, or what, some things that I can ask them about, but I don't want to know the experiences that people have had or the hauntings until after I'm done with my investigation.
Right. I like to go into places cold. But a lot of people consider that being ill prepared, and you can just investigate better if you know the history of the location and stuff. I'm with you. I will experience what's there.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, also like you, I read energy. I work with energy. And I know if there's an active area going on around me. And if it's not, then that's fine. I also am very good at reading intent.
Mm-hmm.
So I know if a spirit is going to have negative activity or
Mm-hmm.
if it's just a putz.
Yeah. So I can't
And
read that. I can read energy like in the room and stuff, but I can't read like the intent of the spirit. So
well, it's helpful.
yeah, I
But I
definitely
agree.
think.
Well, I totally agree with you that if you're a schmuck when you're alive, you're a schmuck when you're dead, and nothing, your personality transcends death.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in a jail where everybody that was spiritual in nature was ticked off at me, and
Mm-hmm.
it showed. But they weren't being, they weren't demons or negative energies or anything like that. They were irritated ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an irritated living human. We were having kind of a face-off at the time. And they were messing with my electronics. I was trying to do a live broadcast. It just was like, come on, guys. So, there was a lot of banging going on. You could hear the banging. You could hear the stomping. None of the doors were moving.
Mm-hmm.
But you could hear the banging, the cell doors banging. You could hear people banging on the outside of the steel fire doors that were enclosed in a razor wire fence, so there wasn't anybody out there. It was just bizarre. So
Yeah, that's kind of the way the third floor of Old South Pittsburgh is.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, especially if you're down there working and not paying attention to the spirits on the third floor, they'll get irritated and they'll start stomping and sounding like they're throwing furniture across the room and all kinds of stuff. And you go up there and nothing's bothered.
Yeah.
Right now there's no furniture up there that can make the noises that they make with the furniture. So, and it's just like, okay, quit throwing your temper tantrum. We get it. We wasn't paying attention to you. Sorry.
And it is when you don't pay attention to them. It's like children.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm the reason you're here. Why are you not up here checking me out? Get up here. And because when you hear those noises, you go.
Mm-hmm. I've also had that happen at Wilden Manor too, in Central City, Kentucky. I don't think a lot of people really know about that location very much. But
what is it called? Will you say that again?
Wilden Manor.
Wilden Manor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually had an event there this year back in April, and the event that's coming up this weekend is actually a documentary and ghost hunt together. We're not premiering the documentary at the location because it's just really not set up for that. So we're actually premiering it at another haunted location, the Palace Theater in Gallatin, Tennessee, which
I
people
love
have
there. Oh my word.
haunted live and all that with the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. But they got so aggravated because we wasn't paying attention to them, and it literally wasn't because we wasn't wanting to pay attention to them. We were just waiting on our other part of our group to get there, so we were talking and having a good time amongst ourselves and all that. Well, to go into the break room, they've got big, heavy black pieces of plastic that you just lift the plastic and you go in, and it's through on two different doors. We literally heard something sound like it was clawing the black pieces of plastic.
Whoa.
And that's the only place that I have ever seen an actual energy ball float through the middle of the room. Because they were aggravated because we was not paying attention to them.
That is so cool.
It looked like, if you ever seen those things at Spencer's, you put your hand on and the energy goes up to your hand. Well, It wasn't that color. It was just all white, but the energy was like going through the middle of the sphere of other energy. And I wish I had caught it on camera or picture or video or something, but it was just one of those things that you just look over and there it goes floating in front of the bookcase, and you're like, okay.
Wow.
So.
Oh, you know what? On that note, because we're going to talk about that again, but we have to go take our top of the hour break. So I can't believe we've already got an hour under our belt here. So everybody, this is our top of the hour news break. And you know what? Maybe we'll find a little good news. You know what? There's no reason not to hope. Let's see what happens. Catch you on the back side of this. Y'all come back for our second hour with Gregg TJ Justice.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Old Edwards Inn and Spa in downtown Highlands, North Carolina, a European-style luxury mountain resort. The Romantic Mountain Escape Package includes 2 nights with spa credits and dinner. More information at oldedwardsinn.com.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. Passengers on cruise ships with stops scheduled in Cuba are disappointed today. NPR's Greg Allen reports cruise lines have quickly changed their itineraries a day after the Trump administration banned recreational vessels, including cruise ships, from traveling there.
The ban went into effect almost immediately, forcing Carnival, Royal Caribbean, MSC, and Norwegian cruise lines to scramble to change their itineraries. Instead of stopping in Havana, cruise lines are substituting other Caribbean destinations. College professor Alexis Henshaw was on her honeymoon on the Norwegian Sun when they got word that instead of Havana, they'd be stopping in Nassau in the Bahamas.
It's really been very upsetting to us, and I've heard that from other people as well, that Cuba was really the destination that they wanted to go to, and they really wanted to have this opportunity. So there's a lot of disappointed people around right now.
Henshaw says Norwegian Cruise Lines is giving her and other passengers a 50% refund and a 50% credit toward a future cruise. Greg Allen, NPR News.
President Trump says that Ireland shares U.S. concerns about Chinese telecom production company Huawei helping to build global communications networks. Trump says, like the U.S., Ireland agrees the company poses a threat to global security. The U.S. has been pressing longtime allies to ban the giant tech company over concerns China will use it to conduct espionage and obtain data on its competitors. Trump made the remarks during a meeting with Ireland's prime minister during his first official visit to that country, where he has a golf club. Because of overcrowded shelters at the Texas-Mexico border, up to 60 migrants are seeking asylum in El Paso. They'll soon head east to North Texas. Bill Ziebel with member station KERA in Dallas reports their destination is Oak Lawn United Methodist Church.
Oak Lawn United Methodist Church pastor Rachel Bachman says her congregation's working with the Dallas-based Thanksgiving Foundation to welcome the visitors.
These are families with children who are fully vetted at the border and have received their immigration status to move on to seek asylum. They are all on their way to a destination where they have a designated sponsor.
Bachman says her church is also working with Dallas County and Annunciation House, a faith-based shelter. The asylum seekers are mostly from Central America. They're being bused north because shelters along the border are filled to capacity. For NPR News, I'm Bill Ziebel in Dallas.
According to a new survey, well over half of all U.S. adults consider the topic of so-called fake news to be a major problem. The many place much of the blame on politicians and on activists. The survey by the Pew Research Center says a majority of Americans also believe journalists have a responsibility of fixing the misinformation. Political affiliation did make a difference among the more than 600 adults surveyed. Republicans more likely than Democrats to view information as one-sided and to blame journalists for it. Stocks move sharply higher, the Dow up 207 points today. You're listening to NPR. Both sides of the political aisle appear to be willing to combine forces to try to halt the sale of U.S. arms to Saudi Arabia. Democrats and Republicans agreeing to hold a series of votes on the matter over the summer. President Trump invoked emergency powers to sell arms to the Saudis and the UAE without congressional review. Lawmakers have grown increasingly critical since the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi and called the use of presidential power in the case unprecedented. Federal health officials say they are ending some research using human fetal tissue. NPR's Richard Harris reports it follows a review of the research that started last year.
Fetal tissue taken from elective abortions has been used in research for years. The practice has been replaced in many cases as biologists found better ways to produce human cells with similar properties. But researchers have continued to use fetal tissue to produce mice with human-like immune systems. Now, the Department of Health and Human Services says it will stop funding that project. It will also stop research on fetal tissue conducted on the campuses of the National Institutes of Health. Research grants to universities are not affected, though new applications will get greater scrutiny. People who find this kind of research unethical are hailing this as a victory. Richard Harris, NPR News.
What do you do when a giant boulder falls onto a southwestern Colorado state highway? Well, if you're a state official there, you apparently weigh the cost of removal versus detouring around the house-sized rock and make a decision. After state officials found they could save about $200,000 by not blasting away the 8.5 million pound rock, they decided it was easier to just reroute the roadway and make the big boulder a tourist attraction. The rock is on Colorado Highway 145. This is NPR.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experienced Radio. I am your host, Kat Hobson. I am so glad you are here because if you missed the first hour with TJ Justice, no worries. You can go back and listen. We are archived here on Spreaker. We are archived on WBHM-DB.com. We are also on iHeart Radio, iTunes, Google Play. We're supposed to be on Apple Podcast. I'm not sure that has completely gone through yet. If not, it will be this week. We are also on YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, all kinds of things. We are all over the internet, anywhere you want to be, kind of like a visa. So go ahead and catch that archive because you know what? It's going to be amazing. I can't wait for the second hour. TJ Justice is a paranormal investigator. He has been doing this since 2010. He has been doing Paranormal Adventures Events since 2017. I have attended his events as a paying guest, so this is not a paid endorsement. He does a good job. He is getting into locations that are amazing. He is experiencing things himself that make him know that these are places other people are going to enjoy investigating. We have talked about battlefields. We have talked about Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. We have talked about animal hauntings. We have talked about all kinds of stuff so far. We've all over the spectrum. TJ, are you having a good time?
Definitely.
I am too. Thank you so much for being here.
That's my pleasure.
Now, before we went to break, you were talking about Weldon Manor.
Mm-hmm.
And what town is that in again?
Central City, Kentucky. It's close. Well, you have to kind of go towards Paducah and the western part of Kentucky. But it's just a little small town. And it's a lot of people doesn't really know about the location, but I always call it a diamond in the rough because for paranormal investigator, it is an awesome location.
What makes it awesome?
Just the level of activity that's in that building is it's not quite up there with Waverly and Old South Pittsburgh, but those are bigger buildings and things too. Which this is actually a big building, but when you get into it, it's kind of more sectioned off. But it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It has a lot of activity. It has a lot of different activity. It's not the same. It's one of the places that every time you go back there, something is always different, like Old South Pittsburgh, like Hell's Bar, like Waverly. They don't stay the same. There's some locations that you go to that you know what to expect. You know, you're like, okay, I can go to this location. I can go in this room, and this is what I'm going to get. Well, with Wilden, Old South Pittsburgh, some of them, you never know what you're going to get, and it's always different.
That is so excellent. And Billy Sims just posted that Wilden is just one of those places that will stick with you.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I can't wait. I am so going to have to check this out. What is your favorite experience that you've had there?
I guess, well, as far as experiences that I'll probably never forget would be the energy ball actually going through the middle of the room, just because
that
we
was
went.
Unbelievable. That
Yeah.
was freak of nature stuff that when you were describing that.
Yeah, I was like, and I didn't believe it at first, and I kind of had to do a double take, and it was still there, and I was like, okay, so I am seeing this, so that's pretty cool. So,
well, I have never seen one that like that. I actually use those sometimes in investigations just to give, especially if I think there might be a child spirit there, because I remember when I was young being so fascinated that, that lightning in the ball would follow your finger.
Mm-hmm.
And more so when I was in high school in my science classes where you got to make your hair stand up when with the more powerful ones. So
yeah.
I think it's beautiful that you got to see that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you didn't actually think it was possible until you actually seen it. Because I didn't think that anything could manifest an energy ball like that to the naked eye. That you would always have to have some kind of equipment or video camera or something to see it. But for something to have that much energy in that building to actually manifest that, for it to go fly from one door to the other, that's just insane to me.
That's insane to me too. That is a lot of energy manifesting, and I would think it would be in doing that. And Wendy in chat said, "Seeing is believing."
Yep, that's true.
Yep, I am just so over the top about that. You said that you are going to be sharing a documentary. Can you tell us a little bit more about the documentary?
Yeah, the documentary was made by a group that is called Gateway Paranormal Society, and they have probably investigated Wilden Manor 20 to 30 times. And they're like me. Every time they go back, it's always something different. And they decided to bring more attention to the location and make a documentary about it. And they had reached out to me to see if we could get some kind of event centered around the premiere of the documentary. And I was like, well, I have the perfect place, the Palace Theater in Gallatin, Tennessee. We can go premiere the documentary there, teach people about this, kind of diamond in the rough location. And we can also actually hunt the Palace Theater because it's supposed to be haunted too. And
it is haunted. I've investigated
yeah. And I started to say
real.
from my experiences, it is because
that actually
that's
is the first place I met the Tennessee Wraith Chasers.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, believe it or not, me and the Tennessee Wraith Chasers are the only two big event organizers that can actually have events at the Palace Theater. So according to the lady that runs it, she's like, yep, you and the Wraith Chasers, that's it, nobody else. So I was like, okay.
Well, there's a couple of places. When I was there, I got to investigate kind of like around the square. I have not been to is it Rosemond Hall,
Rosemont.
Rosemont, yes. And that is actually on my bucket list. I want to go there. I haven't yet. So that's some place that I'm planning to hit the next time that they do an event there.
Yeah.
There's just that whole little area is so haunted. No wonder the guys got into that.
Yeah. Well, I have done some history on Gallatin, and actually the reason there are so many haunted locations in Gallatin is because back in the Civil War, there was a general that used Gallatin as a hanging square. People that he thought, or actually if they even thought you were a Union sympathizer, they would hang you. No trial, no nothing. And they hung children as young as 8 who they thought were Union sympathizers. And that's pretty much the reason why I think the whole square, or the whole town more or less, of Gallatin is haunted, because they have all that, negative history behind it, where that general was using the square just to hang people basically for no reason, most of them.
That is sadly not uncommon in that time period. I don't understand. Of course, I've not lived through anything of that nature either. None of us have. I just can't imagine being so quick to judge. Especially to judge perhaps a neighbor or a former friend. Somebody that you grew up next to. I can't imagine. Wendy says that she hopes that general is burning right now.
Yeah,
it probably is.
Yeah, and then just to hang children too. And, when children most of the time at 8, they don't know any better.
They don't know any better. They were picking those kids up and shipping them off, or they would run away to go join their cousin or uncle or something. I mean, it's just insanity. Nobody is an age of reason at that point in their life. I would say 18, they're not even.
Yeah, they probably didn't even know what they were actually fighting for, or even. It was my understanding that they wasn't even part of the Army. It was just, people's children that they thought may have been like sympathetic to the Union side or something. And,
insanity.
For that much negative, or that many negative actions to be put out, it's going to leave a footprint.
It's going to leave a scar.
Yeah, for who knows how long. It may be eternity that it might use. It might leave that there, and we just don't know.
I don't think that kind of energy dissipates. Because it's so heinous. It is such a wrong that I don't think there's a way to come back from that. That's just sad and disgusting.
Definitely.
Well, I don't know. Our country right now is so divided. People who are so quick to say, well, we need to take this into a civil war. Because I hear that. You hear that. People actually say that out loud. It's going to come to civil war. Well, it can't. We can't do that again. We've been there and rocked that. And there was not, we can't get back into these things.
And we wasn't
get back to these behaviors.
Yeah, we wasn't any better for it. If anything, it made it a lot worse.
I think so.
There has to be some kind of civil solution to any problem, and that, to me, that doesn't include starting a war or going to war. So
Absolutely. Because you know what? Life is short. Politics change every 4 to 8 years.
Mm-hmm. If not.
And it will go away.
Mm-hmm.
It will change. It will alter. It's not worth pulling people out of their cars and beating them to death because they have your enemy sticker on their car, or you perceive them to be someone that, they may or may not be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's lunacy. And that's what creates people like that general.
Mm-hmm.
But we're at our break. We will be right back. Everybody, TJ Justice. He is the founder of R&R Paranormal. He is also the owner of Paranormal Adventures Events. And we will be back after this break.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome!
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy. I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back. I am so glad you're here with us. You are listening to Paranormal Experience Radio, and I am Kat Hobson, your host. I am joined tonight by someone I enjoy. I am having the best time with this conversation. This is, to me, a great experience because TJ Justice's company, the Paranormal Adventures Events, is in my region. I can't always get to New England or the East Coast. I do get to the West a good bit, at least once or twice a year, so I'm very blessed with that. But to find somebody in my region who is investigating places that sometimes I know, but more often than not, I haven't been to these places. I'm not familiar with them. And TJ, you are opening new doors for me in my investigations. Thank you for that.
That's awesome. That's kind of my goal with a lot of my events, is to bring people to places that they haven't heard of, but they are very well worth getting to know the places and getting to investigate there.
Well, I appreciate it because I know that coming from the Kentucky area, Western Kentucky especially, you're Eastern. My bad.
Yeah. Eastern.
But Wilden that we were talking about is in Western Kentucky. You are familiar with places that I am not. And the fact that you are bringing other people along on these adventures has to be a fantastic feeling.
It is, yeah. It's always well, I guess it's always good when somebody comes up to me and says, "This was everything that you told me it was going to be, and a lot more." So, and sometimes, and more than likely, most of the time, it's like that because, especially Wilden and Old South Pittsburgh, they'll put on a show for you, especially if they're up to it that night. So,
well, I tell you, Old South Pittsburgh will give you a show.
Mm-hmm.
And you better not turn off a recorder.
Yeah.
Video or audio. You better have something going the whole time because you will not leave disappointed. Mm-mm. And I cannot wait to get my feet in the door at Wilden.
Yeah. Old South Pittsburgh gave them a show this past Saturday night when Amy Rooney and Doogie was there, that people were getting shadow figures on pictures and seeing them face to face pretty much. And the residents of Old South, they knew that it was a big event and they put on a show. So
well, I know that they do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my friend whose jail I was telling you about will go out into the jail cells and say, "Okay, guys, people are coming tonight. This is all about you. They're coming to see you, and let's let them know you're here."
Yep.
And if they're in the mood, that works.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not in the mood, or if there's someone they don't care for, it doesn't work so well because they are individuals. And I know that people say all the time, you know, these are not trick animals. Well, they're not, but they wouldn't be there if they didn't like the interaction.
Mm-hmm. They're not, but there are certain places that if you let them know that, you know, that it's their show and, you know, it's their time to shine, they'll come out and do it for you. So
they do. And, you know, I think that's one of my favorite things is to know that these people are here because they like how people react to them. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't always get off on scaring people. Sometimes they just want interaction, human interaction. Yep. And that's pretty cool. It's almost like they crave it when it's set empty for a while.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just cool. I know when I get locked up in the house sometimes, you know, all the kids are gone and it's me and the dogs. I go looking for human interaction. So.
Yeah. It's like normal people go stir crazy. Well, ghosts do too because, you know, they, especially if they haven't interacted with anybody for a while or if they just have the same people to interact with over and over, it's like, oh, new people. Okay, let's see what we can get out of them. So
yes, great point. What can we get from them?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's true. What are some other places that you're thinking about doing some investigations, some public events?
here this year, I have had one at the Athenaeum, which is in Columbia, Tennessee. I actually have another one there in November as well with Jack Kenna's going to be the guest.
I just love him. He is one of the nicest
Yeah.
humans.
He is, and he was like, you don't need to get me a hotel room. He said, I'll just stay at your house if it's all right with you. I was like, okay, I don't care. So, yeah,
See?
he was
nice human.
my house guest, yes. And we've had an event in Pulaski, Tennessee at an old opera house. It was called the Antoinette Hall. And just trying to find interesting places that's also haunted, that has, enough activity and enough interaction to actually bring other people along, and some of these places, some of the areas, we get to investigate them for the first time. They've never, like with the Antoinette Hall, there's an actual business, a theater business in it now. The first floor had never been investigated. Well, we got to investigate the first floor at the event, and it was the first time. And the first floor is just as active as where the opera house was at. So, or is
That's
at.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty unexpected, right? I mean, you didn't go in there banking on that.
No. Actually, from what I was told, it was an old textile factory that was where the theater is now. And I was like, well, we've got two different groups. We'll let one investigate the second floor, and the other group will let investigate the first floor. And whatever y'all get, it's the first time anybody's getting it, because nobody is investigated down here.
That's pretty astounding. Do you know how fortunate you are and what kind of reputation you must have that people let you do that?
Mm-hmm.
That says so much.
Yeah, it takes a lot of, especially if they've been burnt before, it takes a lot of getting to know people and getting them to trust you that, you're going to go in there and do things right. You're not going to, for one, destroy their property. You're not going to destroy the reputation of the building, the person that owns it, or the people that, or any of the history of the location. And it's very easy to destroy any of those. So you have to kind of be on your toes about what you say, what you do, things like that. And it takes quite a bit of building relationships to get to let people trust you to, bring the public to their building, and you're kind of the representative of the building and the people that own it. So,
well, you do a good job of that. I know that. I think it says a lot for you and your relationship building that when I was at Short Mountain, Ronnie was there too.
Yeah, from Old South. Yeah.
I mean, he was there supporting you. And so were people that have worked with you there. It's just the supernatural paranormal team were there. And Renee was there. There was a lot of support being given to you by people that work with you. That spoke volumes to me. I mean, I don't know if everybody else realized who they were and that wasn't really something they had to be doing. They were there to support you. So, that speaks volumes. I was so impressed by that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, they tend to make quite a few of the events. Ronnie D's been to several of them this year. I think there's only one or two that he didn't make it to, and Renee and some of the other staff members down at Old South, if they have the time and, don't have anything else planned or whatever, or any other commitments, they'll come out to the events to support and help if I need it or anything like that. So,
well, I'm going to just put out here that I've been incapacitated for 8 months, but I'm back. A little wobbly, but I'm back. And I would like to help you to promote your company and to promote your events. So you are welcome to, I follow you anyway, and I follow your event company, but you are welcome to promote your events through WBHM Digital Broadcasting and through Paranormal Experienced, and I will also share them through Fate Mag Radio. I think that what you're doing is ethical and well done. It's growing leaps and bounds. People are talking all over the planet. See, somebody just now was voicing their opinion. And I think that person's prejudiced in your favor, though, I've got to say.
Yeah, he's barking at his food, so.
Well, we are dog people here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting, so it is all good. When I first started Paranormal Experience Radio, the person that commented first on Kylie the Wonder Lab barking during the show got her for a week. So nobody ever said much. But I do. I'm really impressed with what you're doing and with your ethics. And I have very few people that I endorse. There are 2 companies that I have. You're the second one. So thank you for being that kind of person.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate your endorsement, and I'm glad that I earned it, and that that my ethics and my background, warrants, someone endorsing me.
Well, you do good stuff.
Yeah.
And you're a good man.
Thank you.
So, now, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
If you could go anywhere to host an event, anywhere, U.S. anyway, anywhere in the U.S. to host an event, what's your bucket list location to take people and share?
Probably the ones that I've been to, I would like to host an event at Waverly.
That'd be screaming. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
And why I say the ones that I've been to is because I won't take people to a location that I've not actually been to and investigated myself, because I don't take the word of anybody else. I have to, if I tell you that something has happened there and this is the activity and all that, I've experienced it myself.
I love that. And you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many times have you gone somewhere expecting all this stuff to occur, and for lack of a better word, it's dead. And not in the good way. So, it's a lot of times people build up their locations to get people like you in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always the case. Not everybody has your ethics and character. So I appreciate that you have to have been there.
Yeah, I've had to have been there, and I've had to get, credible evidence that I just don't want to go in there talking after somebody else.
Right.
Because I know people can get, they can interpret things that happen wrong and all that, and they can also, embellish the truth. Like you said, just to get people or event companies to come there and do events. And then it comes back on me. People are looking at me and like they're saying, or they would say, I thought this, and this was supposed to happen. Nothing like that happened. So.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's one of the negatives of not being willing to go in blind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people mock me sometimes because I do that, but it's a good thing because you don't have expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go to scope out in a location, do you go without information and just gather based on your own experience?
I do. Especially I don't want to hear like everybody else's, a paranormal experience there. I do want to hear about the history of the location,
right.
about, the actual documented history of the location. Because to me that really kind of goes hand in hand with the paranormal, or the experiences that you'll have at the location. And it kind of tells like a whole story. Like with my events, you're going to get a lot of history of the locations and stuff too, because I think that just enhances your experience.
Well, you can put, if you know the history of the structure,
mm-hmm.
then when you have an experience, it's in context.
Yes.
You can recognize that maybe it fits that particular site in the structure, or the behavior is something that you would see as a residual experience.
Yeah.
I agree that the history matters. I don't like knowing other people's experiences, though.
Yeah. And then when I do have an experience, that's when I'll go at the end of the night or at the end of the scouting of the location and say, okay, this happened to me. Is this normal? And if I said, and I'll tell them, I said, well, this is the location. This is what happened. Is this normal? Is that something that normally happens? And they'll say yes or no. And most of the time it's yes. And if it's no, I'm like, well, it happened now. So
you can put that one in your book.
Yeah.
But I just love experiencing something and finding out that it does completely correlate with the history and that other people have experienced it. It's exciting because it's like validation that this really is an actual thing. Just makes it be like a group experience with everyone else that's at it too.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we are just about to be up on our final break. We're going to be going into our last segment. So when we come back, I would like it if you could share with people how to get in touch with you so that they can, see the events you have coming up and get booked with you and, communicate if they think they have a wonderful location for the central southern U.S. I'm pushing for the central southern. But anywhere that they think that you need to go so that you can get some additional ideas. And so when we come back, we'll do that. We'll put you out there and let people know where to find you.
Okay.
All right.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the final segment of Paranormal Experienced Radio. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, and my guest tonight has been none other than TJ. And I guess I could say TJ Justice, but the owner of I just lost my mind. Paranormal Adventures Events, and the founder of R&R Paranormal. TJ, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I've learned so much too.
Yeah, it's been great.
And I would really like it if you would tell people how to find you, because you know they're going to be hunting you down after hearing this and wanting to schedule and book with you.
Well, let's hope they are anyway.
Well, you know they are. You do a good job. I mean, I'm not kidding. I do a lot of events, and I like public events because I like meeting people. I have people that show up just about every time, the same groups in the same locations on occasion. But it's fun. It becomes like a family, and your group certainly is like that.
Yeah, it does.
How are they going to find you to be able to book with you?
Well, the easiest place, that has the most information would be Facebook, under Paranormal Adventures Event Management. We do have all of our events on there and all the details of the events and the links for the tickets and all that stuff. They can also email me at paranormal_adventures17@yahoo.com. For any questions they might have, any information, if they have a haunted location that they're the manager, the owner, or whatever of, that they think that I should come check out, that might be a great fit for an event in the future. We will for sure get out there to check it out and try to do something with it. And other than that, that's pretty much it. Just keep an eye on Facebook, because that's the majority of the places that will be where the events will go first.
Yes.
Is Facebook. So,
well, that's how I keep up with you. And I have been sitting on go. I have spent a week. I'm going to call it rehabbing my knee in Gulf Shores, because my house is on pilings, so I have to climb a lot of stairs. And doing it with dogs was just the icing on the cake. So I know I can do that. I am ready to get out to events and start doing stuff. And when I'm at your events, I'd like to do a little bit of FaceTime Live if we have some signal to be able to do that, because people need to know what you're doing. You're doing good stuff, and I think it's fun, and I like sharing that. I like helping people when they're getting out there and doing a good job. I like helping people succeed. So I think it's fun. I firmly believe in what goes around comes around. Karma is real. So your next thing is going to be Saturday at the Palace Theater in Gallatin, Tennessee, where you are going to be sharing the video from Gateway Paranormal and doing an investigation of the theater, right?
Yes.
What's next?
After that, we have a private event with Jack Kenna at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. It's right now as of invitation only until a certain point, which that point ends at the end of this week. And after that, anybody that hasn't bought a ticket that's already been invited, they were pretty much like first in line. Like, you tell me, like, okay, I'm going, we'll save the ticket for you or whatever. But it's only going to be 30 people at the most. So it's going to be a small event for Old South Pittsburgh for the location, because you can definitely get people than 30 in there very comfortably, and there's no overlap, there's no contamination or anything like that. But Jack wanted to do kind of a private event for his supporters, for supporters of Paranormal Adventures, and things like that, like personal friends or people that has come to quite a few of mine or his events. But we gave them kind of first dibs at the tickets, and after that, if there's any tickets left over, we'll go ahead and open them up to the public to get the event filled up for Jack. And then in July, we will have one at Octagon Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. And
do you know that's a location I have never investigated? It is
it's been a few years, but but it was a very good location back when I investigated it. And I know if Billy Sims is still in the chat room, that's one of his favorite locations. And it's going to be kind of a smaller event, 30 to 40 tickets only for that one. And then August, we're going to have one at Prairieville Battlefield. And it's going to tie in with a project that I'm currently filming for, which is Truth or Legends in Your Hometown. That's going to be on Amazon Prime and Hulu. And we're going to have a lot of the cast or the people or the teams that are filming for Truth or Legends are going to be present at that event. You can get to meet them and get to investigate with them and things like that. And a lot of them's never been to Prairieville Battlefield either, so it's going to be an experience for them too.
Don't you love that? I do when it's a lot of people's first time there, especially the talent.
Yes. Yeah,
that just makes it more fun.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was with Amy Bruni this past Saturday. She had heard the rumors and the stories about Old South Pittsburgh, but she finally got to experience it, and it kind of blew her away. So, and
I know that she had stopped in to see it when she stopped in and met Ronnie.
Yeah,
but I did not realize she had not investigated there before.
No, it was her first time investigating there.
That is wicked fun.
Yeah, and it from what I heard, it impressed her with all the activity that it had and things. So,
well, how could it not? I mean, because she really enjoys EVP sessions as well as exploring. But EVPs are her thing, and you can get days worth of EVPs there.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, you can go in there and think it's a dead night because nothing has like physically happened that you could see, but then you turn on your recorder and find out that they were talking to you the whole night.
Yeah. That's when a live listening recorder comes in so handy, because I have gone home and had people trying to communicate that, they didn't understand why they weren't getting responses from me. Like they would raise their voice, or they would like get sarcastic sounding. And that's why I try to do live listening at all times now.
Or at least do like a burst session, like do like so many questions and then play it back. So that way, if, your questions that you're asking they're interacting with you or not.
Yeah.
And, I usually try to do one, if not two, burst sessions just to see if anything's interacting, and then if not, I usually go on to a different area.
Right.
And then, after Prairieville, I've got, we'll have another event at Old South Pittsburgh with Katrina Weedman. That was, she was off Paranormal Lockdown, and she's on Portals to Hell now on Travel Channel. And
the This is actually her third show now, isn't it?
Yeah, she started on Paranormal State
Mm-hmm.
back in 2005 or 6 or something like that, maybe.
Yes.
I can't remember the exact year that was on, but yeah, this is her third show, and actually, she's one of the ones that I like to actually watch on TV. There's some of them that I just can't stand, or some of them that I'll watch it for the locations, and that's pretty much it.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to just put a plug out there for them because I like them.
Mm-hmm.
But the Tennessee Wraith Chasers are actually doing their Haunted Live episodes Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. And they are going to be down in an uninvestigated area in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think the logistics of that show were, before they aired, I thought, oh my word, how are they going to make this work?
Uh-huh.
They did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And their first episode was Octagon Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to go there with you. I'm so excited. But,
Yeah, and I know with the Wraith Chasers, their Haunted Towns show starts back up in June. I think June around the 20th or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's a great show.
Yeah. And I don't know all the locations or anything that they went to, but I'm sure it will be places that, you know, some people has never went to before, because that's the way it was with I think this is the second season or the third season. So that's the way it was when it started out, that they were going to little known locations or unknown locations. So,
you know, this may be their third season, and I only interjected that because they're friends of both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how supportive you are of them, and I like being supportive of them too. And y'all work together a lot.
Yes.
So
yeah,
they are good men too. So I am so excited that you were able to be here tonight, because I know that you really don't do that much radio. When I started going back and looking for past interviews, I'm glad that you did this. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I do podcast occasionally, but it's not something that I really go out there just like, you know, I don't go out there and like put myself up on a big pedestal and say, hey, I'm over here, I can be your guest whenever you want me to. But but if somebody asks me personally, I'm like, sure, I'll do it. I don't, you know, it's fun for me to get on and do these, you know, occasionally. So,
well, you know, you have a business to promote. You're an investigator, so you're kind of a personality in your own right too. You're a team founder.
Mm-hmm.
You're just doing all the fun things.
Yeah, and I'm busy like all the time, and it's like I'm like, I said yesterday to my fiance, I was like, I cannot wait till like the third week of July, because stuff will like let up, and I'll kind of get a little break. And I was thinking the 4th of July is like a whole like month and almost a halfway or something, and I'm just looking forward, you know, to a month later so I can rest.
Well, you know the saying, you know, rest when you die, right? Sleep when you die. But you're doing a good job, though. You're keeping up with everything, and everything seems to be going smoothly. It's all good. So I appreciate that. I think that you do good, and, you know, there is time to rest later. Mm-hmm. But I think that this has been a great interview. I think that you have been a wonderful guest. I appreciate it so much. Your time, I know 2 hours is a big chunk out of your day, and it's just been great. So I do want to let people know that next week I will be coming to you live from Las Vegas. And my guest is going to be someone that is kind of unusual. His name is Dennis Stone, and he is the owner of America's Stonehenge. Serpentine walls and all. So I'm very excited. I think y'all will be too. It's going to be a good show. Never boring. And then the following week is going to be listener's choice out of the archives. So I'm going to pick a few and let y'all do a little poll. And you get to choose who you want to run with. It'll be fun. I will be traveling. And I will not be back in Birmingham. I should be in midair during the show. So it'll work out. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. TJ, thank you for being here. For all of our listeners, you're the reason that we do this, because I love bringing you people that are new and fresh and have neat things going on, and people that you can interact with because they're available to do that. So don't forget, next week, same cat time, same cat channel. Thank you so much for being here, and be sure you catch all of our shows live this week on WBHM-DB.com. Thursday is Clarissa and Jax, and they will be interviewing my bestie, Rick McCullum. Friday, Paraversal Universe, Ghost Talk Radio, Trippin' the Void. Sunday will be Fate Mag Radio. That's me. Monday will be Paranormal Pride. Denise will be returning live with another great show. So, thank you so much. Go out there and be that change you want to see in the world. You can do it. We can make it be what we want it to be. Thank you so much. Good night.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome!
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy, I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.